What's up, everybody? Ian Walsh here, Hard Money Bankers, joined my partner, Ryan Walsh, Hard Money Bankers. Ryan, what's going on?
How's it going, everyone? All right.
We're back for round two with an individual we interviewed a bunch of people when the market was shifting, and now the market has shifted. And we're joined today with a Remax affiliate expert, realtor, and investor, Karl Schnitzer. Karl, how you doing?
Hey, guys. Happy to be here again.
Good. A little bit different atmosphere than last time, which I think we saw coming. In all fairness, on our show, we all talked about it and said we were all pretty aware of it. So on your show, you get the thumbs up on the crystal ball. Some of the other people literally haven't returned to the show that I'm like, are they that far off, or they just not like me? I'm not really sure. But
yeah, I mean, things have definitely changed since I think our last call was in August, maybe.
Yeah, it was like in mid change at that point. So. So talk about the change. What have you noticed?
So I would say the end of last year, so like Q4, things were still decent. That's kind of when rates really started to skyrocket. And I think there was a lot of, I wouldn't even call it panic buying, but people didn't know when the rates were going to stop going up. So I had a really good December, and it was just people that wanted to get in before potentially, rates went up even further. And that helped, me out and helped comps in the area. So I work mainly, Philadelphia. I try to stick to Northeast Philly. I won't go too far into downtown or West Philly or anywhere. Mainly Northeast Philly and Bucks County. So
has it always been like that, or you just mean recently?
It's kind of always been like that. I mean, I get a lot of leads and stuff out in those areas. It's just, I don't know. I value my time to drive an hour or so, or 45 minutes to a showing. So I'd rather refer some leads out. But I stick to, my niche is kind of Northeast Philly and Bucks County, lower Bucks, even upper Bucks stuff. If I'm not an expert in it, I wouldn't, I would feel better giving a client, an agent that works that area and has that direct expertise in those pockets, rather than myself, doing it. I think it could be a disservice to the client. So,
for sure, yeah. I mean, we always have people saying, should I learn all of New Jersey or all of Philadelphia? It's like you can learn a 1-by-1 square mile and make a lot of money in this. So we're all about knowing your market and your zone. So
yeah, absolutely, and just having that level of expertise in a smaller market, it makes you an expert. It makes you kind of stand out to the competition. And even, something that I've done too is I have different relationships with agents in different counties that, they have their expertise. If somebody's up in Percy, I don't work Percy, but I have an agent up in Percy I can refer you to. And they're the same way that, if they're down here or they get a client down in Philly and they don't know Philly too well, we have an ongoing relationship of, hey, here's my expert in Philly. And it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. And I think you made a good mention, which is I value my time. You kind of say, like, we all kind of chuckle, but it's like, yeah, like you could, especially in the city, anywhere. I mean, you could just burn your day looking at properties that, it's like, no way, just if it's outside of 30 minutes of my comfort zone and on with low traffic, I feel like when there's high traffic, even within 30 minutes, it's still a pain. But so you had a interesting comment, which is you had a good quarter four, where a lot of the agents we've been interviewing have had not a great quarter four, but then they had a nice bump in the beginning of January. They saw some people coming back, and their theory was that people just didn't know what to do at the end of quarter four. Where you were saying they were getting in because they were afraid rates were going to continue to go up. And then they suggest that there was like more confidence in the marketplace starting January 1 in terms of just like not being happy about the rates necessarily, but just at least knowing where their footing is. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'd have to look at it to get the exact numbers, but so 2022, I sold just over 10 million, and I'd say probably 6 or 7 of that, probably like 6 million of that was in Q3 and Q4. Q4 was probably like 3 million or so, and it was
were those Bucks or Philly mainly?
Both, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
like pretty evenly split.
Yeah. So a lot of my clients, so obviously, and I think we talked before, I used to be a Philly cop. So a lot of my network that I work with are cops, and we do, I have a lot of dual side transactions where people are selling in the city to get out of the city. So I'm doing a sale side in the city and a purchase side outside in the Bucks.
Gotcha. Okay. So Q3 and Q4 were big for you. So finish what you were saying. I didn't mean to cut you off on the like the consumer sentiment, that we were just talking about.
Yeah. So I mean, in Bucks, what I'm seeing is the same as before. It's low supply and high demand. I think we talked before. Not everybody, but a good portion of people, they want to get out of Philly, and they're flooding the surrounding counties of Monco, Bucks County, and then probably some Delaware County too. I don't do much business out there, but I'm sure there is high demand out there just because people want to get out of the city. They don't want to pay city wage tax. They want a safe place to be. So that alone is, I think, what's keeping, just from a macroeconomic level, supply is low, demand is high. So in the counties, we're seeing prices steady and even increasing some. It's not as crazy as before with $20,000, $50,000 over asking, but I still see a lot of low days on market, and people are selling stuff for asking out in the counties.
Yeah, right now I see, for what we get in, I find that there's not a lot of flips going on. And the flips that are going on right now, the people seem to be really far off on their numbers. When I do see somebody says, hey, I want to do a flip. So I'm getting a lot of people asking to do rentals, but then rental numbers don't necessarily completely work a lot of times on some of these too. So the market, even though there's more confidence in maybe buyers, because there definitely was more activity beginning in January that I noticed. But there still seems to be a lack of knowledge of where the marketplace is sitting. What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely. I think the investor market has slowed down, and probably a good thing that it has slowed down. So I sold my last flip in October, and we got very lucky on that. We ran our numbers. We went over budget a little bit, and just, by the tail end of kind of the high market, we're the highest comp on the block. And even what we sold for, it appraised for less. So, we still worked out well. It wasn't as great as we thought it would be, but, I have not looked at another flip since October, just because it doesn't make sense right now, in my opinion.
I'm getting that. And the ones that do come in just don't really they seem to be so far off on numbers. I'm like, man, it's a $200,000 deal. You're going to bring $100,000 to the table. It doesn't, you need to buy lower, but I don't know. There's still a lack of stability. I still think when we're going to see flippers kind of jumping back in the game, and I think it'll be the right time, will be June-ish, because you're going to have real comps to actually use based on interest rates that are not just doubling and tripling every month or two. You're gonna be okay, that house that sold in January, February is a half a point different, in buying power. So this is a real comp right now. I'm a little bit more comfortable, Rye. You think you're probably more comfortable with last few months comps to start to use, but up until maybe just recently, beginning of the year, we pretty much would eliminate from 2021 to 2022, the whole run. We just didn't use those comps. We said there's aren't comps. So we're looking at early 2020, 2019, trying to figure out is it really going to sell that low? Could it come back? I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder if you guys don't get back in June and stuff.
I mean, Karl, you have a unique perspective because you have your your investor side of you, where you invest yourself, but you also service, your end buyers, your people buying and moving. So, I mean, for us, it's almost like there's two different markets going on, right? The investor world is what Ian was talking about, but it does kind of reflect what you're saying. And I think it's so area dependent right now. If you're in the suburbs, I can trust that comp as a lender. Are you doing the same thing with your buyers and sellers, saying in this area, we might be able to push, in this area, we might have to drop?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, so on the listings that I'm doing right now, kind of like what Ian was saying, I'm not looking really at Q3, Q4. I mean, normally I'll go back 6 months, and I'm just not, because it's a completely, not completely, but it's a different market than it was, 6 months ago. So in the city, at least, and this is where, like I said, it's all market dependent, because right outside of Northeast, in Bucks County, Bensalem, Langhorne, Yardley, all those areas, I think there still is really strong demand out there. So, they could go back a little bit further in months on what comps you're pulling, but stuff in the city, even that last flip that I did, I've had wholesalers call me about a property on the same block, and they asked me if I wanted it, and they ran all their numbers. And they were like, it's a great deal for you. Here's what you just sold for. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, I could not sell for that again. I already know we got lucky with that sale. And it's just, that's the area. And I think the price range that's going to get hit the most on coming down or sitting on market long is the higher price point stuff, the above like $6-7 million point. Like,
above median housing.
Yeah. I mean, you figure, so I have, friends at Toll, and I kind of get somewhat of an inside scoop there. They're, stuff that's over $1 million is either sitting, coming down, or they have buyers trying to get out of the deal. And it makes sense where, your buyer pool of $1 million house, is not the same buyer pool as someone that can, afford a $350,000 house. You may have this many people, if you can see, going for a $300,000 house versus this many people for $1 million house, where that's what's going to get affected the most. And the good thing for the kind of mid-range stuff is that, those $600,000-$700,000 buyers are just going to fall to the 350, 400, maybe 500. And, it's just going to trickle down to where that midpoint, personally, I don't really see it getting hit. I mean, obviously there's economists and experts saying it's all going to tank, but I haven't seen it yet. And my personal opinion is I don't really think we're going to in that price range.
Yeah, I think what happened was we had the 2020 money printing took those $300,000 buyers and moved them into the 600 and moved the 600s into the million. So like it made that same V that you're talking about like that. It went like this, but now it's got to come back.
Yeah.
The question is like by how much? So like does a $1.2 million home go to 750? Like how much are we talking here? That's going to be the big question. And I think, when I was talking, we've underwritten deals always when we get above like 500, 600, 700,000, even during the high, when it was riding up, we're always like, the thought was always, okay, if the market crashes tomorrow, this thing could easily be worth, this number. You're like, that seems crazy, but it's really not. Once you're in it, it's really not at that point. It's not crazy.
Yeah. I mean, like you said too, so I think the statistic is like 80% of every US dollar was printed in 2020 and 2021. I mean, everything's artificial. It's not real. Even like stocks and securities, the value is all artificial right now. It's just more money being pumped into the economy. It's not actually more value being created.
No, but I think the most important question of today's show is going to be, what do you think the toxic derailing of the Ohio trains are going to do to the market locally in Pennsylvania?
Depends who your listeners are.
What's that?
I said it depends who your listeners are.
Yeah. And do you think UFOs will affect the local market? Because we also have to deal with that.
Oh man, UFOs probably. Who knows?
I mean, if they show up, I'm gonna have to say it's gonna affect the market.
Throw one over Philadelphia, and I think that could. I think more people are gonna expedite leaving.
It depends on your marketing though too. Because if I had a listing somewhere, I would list it as, hey, great views of UFOs.
Yeah. Like 3-story balcony with a UFO view.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something. If I could just look out the balcony and see some aliens showing.
Check out all the Chinese spy balloons from your back porch.
Oh man, yeah, you're right. You could spin this way better. And if you could just shoot it over that cloud in Ohio, that toxic cloud, and you get that full view, get a UFO over the toxic cloud. I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't sell that.
Yeah, right.
I know we're joking, but A, it's a very serious situation.
It's unreal,
But also B, like. It's just something to point out to investors at any time. Like, 'cause people always think like that's no risk to you as a lender or the investor, right? Though anybody who has a loan in that town right now is just panicking because all that property currently is worth $0.
Yeah.
Right?
Let alone for their fearing for their lives, they're probably panicking. But then maybe the lenders are also panicking.
Yeah. Right. First things first, their lives.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
horrible.
Crazy things like that can happen. So I hope none of that trickles over to PA, even in the Pittsburgh area, right? Like, I don't know. I hope those chemicals are not going to impact PA, but we'll see. I know we're a little off topic in terms of what
it's more fun. And the last 2 weeks in the news have been nuts. I mean, these have been the craziest 2 weeks of news that I can remember in.
And that's news that they're telling us. I mean, I could share probably a lot of stuff that isn't out in the media.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there's at least like 5 or 6 things right now that are in the media that are trying to be not in the media. So I don't know what's going on.
I don't know how far off you want to get off topic, but if anyone,
as far as you want, it's entertaining.
How about the FDIC saying that your money's not safe from bail-ins? Anyone see that?
Haven't seen this one yet. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Please,
So
please tell.
I'll send you the link to it. In like a board meeting, there's a leaked video of one of the board members saying how people don't realize, your money is safe with the FDIC. It's insured up to $250,000, but it's not safe against bail-ins. And he says bail-ins are coming. So there's a lot of fear right now with money sitting in the bank or anything like that.
So cue the CBDC and a run on the banks. Is that what we're doing here, basically?
Who knows?
That would make a heck of a lot of sense to be. So everybody right now, I think, is thinking like, all right, where am I supposed to be looking? Right? Where's the sleight of hand? Like something else is going on. What is it? Like an economic collapse like that? Just slide that information right under there and be like, whoops, like that makes sense.
I mean, there's $32 trillion of debt that doesn't just go away.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Where does it go? I don't know. So I think over the next month is going to be.
It feels like there's a lot of moving pieces. Yeah. It feels like there's a lot of moving pieces quickly and suddenly.
And more that anybody can really keep their hands on. Right. Yeah. Like you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Meanwhile, what are you looking at? Just
kind of moving forward, too. I keep telling, anyone that comes to me that they want to buy, look, I'm not in this. I mean, obviously I make money in commissions, but I'd rather have a good relationship with somebody and be honest with them. And I'll say, like, if you're planning on, buying this house temporarily for 2 or 3 years, I don't think I could ethically sell you a house. Now, if you're going to stay in the house for 10, 15, 20 years, great. Long-term, I think you'll be fine. But if you're planning on, buying a house and you're just going to stay in it for a year or 2 years or 3 years, honestly, I'd probably recommend, it might be better to rent right now.
That's fair. I mean, it's valid because of the unknown. It's just sheer unknown going on. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's a good update. And I'd love to do this again because I guarantee the next time we do this in like 6 months, it will be a totally different market again.
Wait, I got a question. What do you see happening in the next 6 months? What's the next crystal ball?
Any idea? Man. I mean, he in all fairness, he did just say he's unsure. So that's a fair answer.
Yeah. I mean, crystal ball business is very hard to stay in. And
it is.
I don't know. Cause it's like, you look at the experts and there's experts on each side, there's Harvard graduate economists saying, hey, the market's going to tank. And then you have, Cornell graduate economists saying, no, it's fine. And it's, I don't know. I understand both views. And I both have a solid argument, and I don't know. So sorry, it's not a great answer.
No, I think
it's a fair answer. It's a valid answer. I have the same answer. Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the people in the business are right now, especially if you're experienced, right? People who are giving us the crystal balls, it's almost like,
honestly too. I mean, it's even if real estate comes down, it's probably a good thing for, good realtors because it's going to weed a lot of people out of the business. And, if you're smart with your money and you had a good 2021 and 2022, you can sustain, a low 2023 volume year. So it's just going to weed people out, which, will be a good thing for us.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, that's what we say. We're in the war of attrition right now.
Yeah.
Like we're there. We're in it. So,
and anybody that wants to contact you, Karl, I just want to, so you're very clear about where you like to do business. And if you need just information, at the bottom, we've been scrolling your email. So it's just Karl@producerswealth.com. Also did an awesome podcast with my partner, Jason, on infinite banking. So if somebody wants to chat infinite banking with Karl, that's fair, right? To also contact you for that.
Yeah. So Producers Wealth is the website for infinite banking stuff. My real estate website is Homes Around Greater Philadelphia. Either website has my contact info. So, either way can reach out.
Perfect. All right, Karl, we'll be in touch on the next one.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys.